Hello, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 347. I'm Lisa, also known as Fabrinymph, and today's Wednesday, October 7th, 2020. Feels like it could be about 2053 at this point because I have been trying to get this recorded since quite early today. I've got a couple finished objects for you. Look, here's a pumpkin. Do you remember these? I was obsessed with these last fall, and I made a whole bunch, and they were awesome, and I had so much fun making them, and then I quit making them because probably pumpkin season was over, but I found this one mostly done. Like the knitting part of it was mostly done, but it was in a bag, like a tote bag, that somehow got shoved off into a corner, and I never finished the pumpkin. And I found it a few weeks ago whenever I was cleaning up before my mom came, and I was trying to organize things, and I found this tote bag in the corner of the bedroom here, and I'm like, what's in there? And I looked and I was like, oh, there's a mostly finished pumpkin. So I did finish it. It only needed like 3 or 4 more rows of knitting. Finished it, and then it sat. So this morning I thought, this is silly, I'm going to finish this pumpkin. And so I stuffed it, and I went outside in the wind because it was very windy here today, and I found a stick in the yard, and I cinched it up and stuffed it, and stuffed it, cinched it up, put the little stick in it, and added some little fluffies. And so now we've got a finished pumpkin. My daughter saw it sitting out on the table earlier today, and she's like, oh, what a cute pumpkin. So I told her she could have it, but I needed to show it on the podcast first. So now she gets this pumpkin. This is the Knit Pumpkins pattern by Stacey Lieckfeldt, and she has another pumpkin pattern that she put out this year. So it's kind of like Knit Pumpkins Part 2, I think. I'm not sure if that's the exact title, but just new variations on pumpkins. I think the one that from last year that I used, this one, there was also a cabled detail on one of the pumpkins. I never did that one. Maybe I'll try that this year. Who knows? But for now, this one's finished, and I want to make more of Stacey's patterns. She does some really adorable patterns. There's little evergreen trees that she did last year too that I did buy the pattern for, but I never actually knit them. So perhaps this year. The yarn I used for this was some of my Ridgetop fingering weight, held double with the Floof, my mohair silk base. So that's what I used for that. I don't know what colors. This was warm honey. The Floof was warm honey. It was probably a one-off color for the Ridgetop. Anyway, that is a finished object. The other finished object that I have actually was living in that same long-lost project bag, and it is a hat. The hat was not nearly as close to being finished as the pumpkin was. I had the brim done, and then I had this first row of bobbles, and then I kind of petered out. I do vaguely remember starting this. It was late last fall. I think I started it because I thought Emma I would give it to Emma for Christmas last year, but then she ended up asking specifically for a hat in a different color and a different style. So I never finished this one. It was one I was just sort of making up the pattern on the fly anyway. And I knit her a different hat, and then never thought about this one again until I found it a few weeks ago. And I thought, well, maybe I should just finish it. I wasn't super sure about the bobbles because I'm not really a big fan of bobbles, but I had already started it with the bobbles. I didn't really want to rip it out, even though I wouldn't have had to have ripped too much to get back before the bobbles, but I thought, you know what, I'm just going to play with this. So I continued with bobbles, obviously, but do you see, here's the brim, and I love this little cable detail that I did here, although I realized that at some point I goofed, and no, maybe I'm wrong. No, this one I did do consistently. I thought there was some spots where I did not do 2 twists, but I did them all around. Yeah, so my normal hat recipe that I would make a hat is I do my brim and then I increase stitches like in one of the first rounds. I don't remember if I did that on this or not, to tell you the truth. I don't think I took any notes as I was doing this. But it's a very tightly fitting beanie right now. I don't know if I can show you or not. Let me see. At this point in the day, it probably doesn't matter what my hair looks like. So Yeah, it's very tightly fitting. It would actually be really nice for camping if I needed a hat to sleep in while I was camping in the colder weather, but I don't know that baubles would be super comfy to sleep on. They're tiny baubles. They're just 3-stitch baubles. Anyway, what I ended up doing is I had that first row of baubles, so then I thought, well, I'll make little leaves and make them kind of look like berries or something. I don't know. So I do have a little, you know, leaf kind of motif going on there, and then I did another thing of baubles, and then I did more leaves, and I decided I would alternate the direction of the leaves as I went up the column of baubles, and that worked out fine. I did not do regular interval decreases the way I would normally do on top of a hat because I didn't want to mess up the patterning. So what I ended up doing was just doing a few different rounds of decreases and that with some straight knitting in between. And that was fine. I think I could have waited a little bit longer to have started that if I wanted something slouchier. Although, honestly, considering how snug this is, it's probably better that I did it this way. If I ever try to recreate it and actually write a pattern from it, I will definitely make some changes in the sizing. But for now, it's fine. It's a finished hat. You can never have too many hats. The yarn I used for this is some of my Bona Fide base, and this was just a one-off colorway that I had. I think it was, yeah, I was trying to recreate a colorway at one point and didn't quite get it with this one. So I just had it and I used it for this. I did US 6s for this, although I probably used 5s for the cuff, or the brim. I usually go down a size, or go up a size for the body of the hat, and then whatever. You know what I mean, right? It's been a long day. Have I mentioned that? You can tell too, but I had much nicer makeup on. My hair looked much better earlier this morning. You're going to just have to take my word for that, though. I also used US 6s for the pumpkin. Okay, those are the only 2 finished projects I have. I do have 2 works in progress, though, and neither of them were on the needles the last time we talked. The one, however, is one that I told you I was going to be casting on, and that is the Augustine Shawlette by Valdis Vrang. I've made the Augustine Shawlette twice before, and I love this pattern. It's definitely much more of a scarf than it is a shawl of any kind, but I like it because it's very easy to memorize. Like, I don't have to keep looking at the pattern. I know what to do. After a while, it just becomes very intuitive. And this is what it's looking like right now. I am about at the halfway point. So it starts out small and it continues to increase as you go up. Each repeat makes it become wider. So here's where I'm at now. I am actually at the point where I'm going to be doing a segment where I'm not doing any increases, and then it will start to decrease after that. As you do the decreases, all of these purl columns, those become dropped stitches. So even though it's already very drapey and loose and flowy, it becomes even more so once you drop those stitches. It's a fun pattern, and I love wearing this. The ones I have, I wear pretty regularly in the fall. I mean the winter too, but mostly in the fall, because the one is definitely a good fall color. It's very autumnal. The yarn I'm using is some Urban Girls yarn. Urban Girl Yarns. I always put the S the wrong place. In their Merino nylon fingering base. This is the Ruth Bader Ginsburg colorway, and that is why I wanted to use it right now. I actually purchased this last November when I was at Vogue Knitting Live out in Columbus, and I had never had any of their yarn before, and when I was in their booth, this one caught my eye, and then I saw the name of it, and I'm like, I have to have that one. So I fortuitously had it in my stash already, because even though I know they did just put a whole bunch more in their shop shortly after Justice Ginsburg died, I think that was like their last round that they were going to do of that colorway ever. So I was glad that I already had one. It's a very pretty color. I just love the softness of it. I don't really know what the specific inspiration for this color combination is with regard to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but I honestly don't really need to know. I just like it a lot. So anyway, here's where I am. I'm using US 3 needles for this. I think the pattern maybe calls for 2s or 2.5, but I'm using 3. I like the fabric I get with that. And it's going along well. It's basically one of those projects that you knit and you work until you're almost halfway through your yarn, and then you start to do the decreasing. These skeins are actually 125 grams, so I definitely have more yardage than I've had for either of the other two that I've made, I think. Well, actually the one I think maybe I made out of my bedazzled base, so it was probably no, bedazzled still doesn't have this much yardage. Anyway, this is going to be a nice sized scarf. So this may actually be done by the next time I see you. It's basically taken the place of my sock knitting at this point, because usually I have a sock on the go that I can work on when I'm just sitting out at the dinner table after dinner, or, you know, in the morning whenever I'm sitting there while having my coffee. But yeah, I've been working on this instead, so I'm making good progress on it. The other work in progress that I've mostly been focusing my time on is a sweater, and you have not seen this sweater at all. Matter of fact, it wasn't even an idea for me the last time I talked to you. The yarn, let me tell you about the yarn first. This one's wound into a ball, obviously. That is a pretty good representation of the color, though. This is some Blacker Yarns Cornish Garden. Now, Cornish Garden was their birthday color last year. If you're familiar with Blacker Yarns, they're from the UK, and they put out a special blend birthday yarn every September, and it's different every year. This one, I don't remember what the blend is. I'll link to it so you can see what the blend of the fibers is, but it's a really nice woolly wool. I did buy it from the Woolly Thistle, which is where I tend to buy these kinds of yarns. I do carry a woolly wool too. My Ridgetop yarns are a nice woolly wool, but sometimes it's fun to get them elsewhere. And the thing about Blacker's birthday yarns is their birthday's in September, and my birthday's in September, and so I often treat myself to some Blacker Yarns birthday yarn for my birthday, which is the case this year, which I don't have it in here to show you. I'll show you at some point. It's going to become a sweater, but I did get some this year. But this was last year's. And when it first came out, I was not able to snag it when it first got in the shop. And so by the time I got to it, there weren't a lot of colors left, but this color was left. And you know this is my color. I love these yellowy, goldy oranges. So I bought one skein of it, and I bought one skein of a neutral kind of color that was also left. And they came and they just sort of sat here for a while. I didn't have a project in mind. And then at one point I was on the Woolly Thistle's website again, because I'm there often, probably more than I really need to be, but you know, it's fun to look. And I happened to notice they still had some of this in stock, but only this color. And so I thought, you know what? I should get more and make a sweater sometime. So I did. I bought 5 more skeins of this. So I had a total of 6 skeins. And again, it's still kind of sat here for a while. I bought those 5 additional skeins, I don't know, earlier this year. Time has lost all meaning. I don't remember exactly when. But then, this is kind of funny, I started knitting this Shawlette, and I love these pops of orange in here. And I thought, oh, you know, it'd be really cool to have a sweater that I could wear with this scarf that would go together with it. And one of the first sweater lots that I had in mind when I started thinking about this was this one. It's like, don't they look nice together? Because everybody knits sweaters just so they have something to wear with their scarves, right? I know. So anyway, that was the initial impetus for wanting to knit this sweater that I'm working on. The second one was that currently the Woolly Thistle is running their annual sweater knit along. So what better time to use some Woolly Thistle purchased yarn for a sweater, and I could do part of the knit along. I'm not a huge knit along person, you know that about me probably, but this just worked out. So I decided to do a sweater, and I also thought maybe I should get one more extra skein just in case. And as it turned out, there was exactly one more skein of this colorway left at the Woolly Thistle, which I took as a sign. So I ordered it, and now I have 7 skeins of this. So I definitely have enough yardage to make a sweater. The sweater I decided to do is the Felix Cardigan by Amy Christoffers. I'm sure you have seen this cardigan many times, but here is a picture of it. I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to see. It's just a really pretty plain pullover. It's a raglan increase, top-down raglan, but it's got this really pretty lace motif along the raglan increases. So that's what I wanted to do. Now I have to say this sweater calls for an Aran weight yarn. This is called a sport weight, but it's definitely a hardy, beefy sport weight. Ravelry lists it as a DK, and I would definitely say it knits up as a DK. I am knitting this sweater on US, well, actually, I'll get to that in a minute. I started out on US 7s. The pattern, I think, is written to work on US 9s. But I did do a swatch, like a legit swatch. Really big swatch. I soaked it. I hung it up to dry so that gravity could do its thing. And I was getting stitch gauge. Row gauge was a little off, but I can always fudge row gauge. I wasn't worried about that. But my stitch gauge was great. And so I proceeded. And I cast on... this is a sweater that's supposed to have positive ease. Now, I didn't want it to have a lot of positive ease because I don't prefer large, oversized sweaters. So I was aiming for a smaller amount of positive ease. So I was planning to go with the 48-inch bust measurement. I have a 46-inch bust, so I figured that would give me a couple of inches of positive ease. Great. So I started the sweater, and all of the sizes start with the same number of stitches being cast on, and you work short rows, and then you begin doing your raglan increases. And the number of increases you do is what creates the different sizes. Fine. So I started doing this on the US 7s. Everything was going along fine, and I read the directions, but I misinterpreted them because for my size, I was supposed to do a total of 5 of these increases. I don't know if it was because it said how to do it and then it said do 4 more. So I saw the number 4, or if I did see the 5 and I just sort of counted this one, which was actually part of the short rows. I don't know. At any rate, I stopped after 4, which is what you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after that, you're supposed to just knit straight stockinette until you reach the armhole depth that is designated for your size. Well, for the size 48, it was supposed to be an 11-inch armhole. I'm like, that seems really large. So I decided to get my antler cardigan out, because my antler cardigan is kind of my golden standard for cardigans. It's the best fitting one I've ever made. I love it. And I measured that one, and it's also a top, actually it's a bottom up raglan, but still it's got the raglan shaping. No, it does not have the raglan shaping. It's a yoke. It's a cabled yoke. But it was similar enough that I felt confident going with this. I measured that, and the armhole depth on that I think was like 8, maybe 8.5 inches. I thought that's a huge difference. So I decided I was going to stop at 9 inches because I don't want big baggy armholes. So I stopped at 9 inches. I put it on a long needle, and I was able to drape it over myself and open it the way it would be. And it fit perfectly, and the armhole depth was absolutely ideal. So I thought, perfect, I'm done. So I'm going to move on to the next part where you separate the sleeve stitches out and everything. So I set about doing that, and there were stitch markers, denoting the 4 raglan spots. So I knew what I was doing where. But I don't remember if it was at that point or a little bit later into it that I realized I did not have the right number of stitches. And upon further counting, I realized I was 24 stitches short, which means I was 1 raglan decrease or 1 raglan increase short. And that was when I realized that I had goofed that up. But at that point, I already realized that it was fitting fine, so I didn't really care. I just left it as it was. I wasn't going to go back. So I continued on. I took the stitches off for the sleeves. I did the next row where you're casting stitches on underneath the armholes, and I was ready to work the body. Great. So I decided to start working the body, and it was actually Saturday night. My husband and I were watching a movie. Actually, it was a mini-series. We sat in the bedroom here, and we watched the first 3 of 5 episodes of the HBO mini-series Chernobyl. Don't know if you've ever seen it before, but if you just know Chernobyl and what that was back in 1986, the huge nuclear disaster in the Ukraine, it's kind of intense. And I didn't actually realize that it was a dramatization of the whole thing. I thought it was like more of a history kind of, this is what happened. But no, it was a very graphic dramatization of the whole thing. And it was so intense. It was crazy. And I knit 6 inches of the body of this sweater and then realized the next morning that there was no way on earth it was ever going to fit me. It was so snug. Because my tension was just like, you know, the whole time I was watching those episodes. So I thought about it, and I channeled my inner Carol from A Stitch in Time, who is so good about not really hesitating to rip things out when they are not right. And she wants to get them perfect. And so I did that. I ripped all 6 inches out that I had done. In the process of doing that, though, I did think about it ahead of time, because I was trying to think, like, can I block it? No, I could have never blocked it. Could I put 5-inch button bands on it? Like, no, it had to be ripped out. But I was also thinking about the fact that, you know, I had essentially ended up knitting the size 43, I think. 43 and a half. That's the next size down. You know, by omitting that one raglan increase, I had knit the next size down, which was a 43 and a half. Now, I have actually done that on purpose in other sweaters. Matter of fact, I think I may have done that in the antler cardigan, where I'll knit the bigger size for my full bust measurement to the point of the armholes, and then when I get up here to the yoke, I will go down a size, because I'm not nearly as big up here. Like, I'm not broad. I'm just large chested, and I carry my weight kind of like in my upper tummy. I've talked about this before. So I like having a larger size there. That's great. That's also why I don't tend to do a lot of waist shaping in sweaters. But anyway, I thought, okay, so if I did that, and I actually knit the 43 and a half, rather than just starting this over the way I did, maybe I should do increases to get up to the stitch count, like put those extra 24 stitches that I had accidentally left out by not doing it right, put those in before I continue knitting down the body. So that's what I did. I just did the increases and, you know, interspersed them where they were supposed to be in the different segments of the sweater, and then I re-knit the body of the sweater. I actually did that when we watched the last 2 episodes. The last 2 episodes weren't as intense, so my gauge was fine. But here, I'm going to actually try this on for you. Let's see if I can do this without totally tangling myself up. So here we go. It fits so well. I just absolutely love it. Now, keep in mind, these are rolling in, and there's no button bands yet. But this fits really nicely. Before, it was like way out here. Like, there was no way to block to make that up. So this is perfect. And once it's blocked, it will be even more so. I am so happy with this. And up here, this fits just perfectly. Like, I love the fit of this. It's so comfortable, and the armhole depth is ideal. It's wonderful. So I'm really pleased with how this is coming. The only other thing I modified after I started the body the second time was I remembered something else I did with my antler cardigan, and that was to knit with one size needle and then purl back, because I am working this flat, which is how it's written, to purl back with a smaller size, because I am a continental knitter and I knit much more tightly than I purl. And I did that with my antler, and so I decided to do that with this, and I'm glad I'm doing that too. I think that's evening my stitches out a lot more. So I am knitting across on a US 7 as I had been up here, but no. I take that. I'm knitting across on a US 8, and I'm purling back on a US 7. And that seems to be working pretty well. So I'm very happy. I don't think I can't really see a size difference. I mean, I probably could if I really looked. And I haven't measured gauge lately, mainly just because I know it's fitting okay. I'm sure my gauge has changed a bit doing that, but it's fine. The other thing I noticed, and I can't really see it too much here, I'm not sure if you can notice it, I'm not alternating skeins because it all came from the same dye lot, and I know that's always a risk, especially with small batch yarns, but there is one stripe right here that's a lot more orange. And had that been down further, it would have gotten ripped out, but since it was up above where I was ripping, I wasn't going back there. It's not that noticeable. Like in this light, I'm not noticing it much at all. When I took a picture of it that I posted on Instagram, it was really noticeable. So whatever. If somebody's staring at my boobs that much to see that stripe, they're too close and they shouldn't be looking. Maybe they're not too close, but they shouldn't be looking that closely at my breastal area. So anyway, that is coming along great. Hopefully it could be actually finished when you see it next time. Honestly, all of this knitting, including the ripping out of the 6 inches and re-knitting it, I think it took 4 days. Like, I really went to town on this. This is the end of the second ball too. I'm thinking I'm going to have a good bit of yarn left over from those 7 skeins, because I don't think I'm going to need all 7. I've got one more already caked up that should take me through most of the rest of the body, and then I'll have the button bands and the neckband and the sleeves to go. And yeah, I'm thrilled. I love it when a sweater really works well, and I have high hopes for this one. Okay, that's all of my crafting. I haven't really done much of anything else worth showing to you. I haven't done any more natural dyeing because I'm deep into work dyeing right now. That's been my focus. So nothing else to show you in that respect. I was going to mention that we're currently in the 4th quarter of the 20 in 20 challenge. So if you're taking part in that, you have this opportunity right now through the 15th to update or change or modify your 20 in 20 lists. If you have not joined us yet for the 20 in 20 and would like to use this last quarter to maybe try to motivate yourself to finish some things up, feel free to create a list in the group. It's on Ravelry. I realize that's not perfect for everyone right now, but I'm finishing out the year with the things we had started on Ravelry, and we'll hopefully find other ways to facilitate things next year. However, we do have prizes to give out. I do have prizes to give out for the 20 in 20 3rd quarter. I have the Chatter Thread prize and the Instagram tag prize. I am going to do those, but I am going to do all of the prizes together at the very beginning of the shop segment, or actually between 10% and the shop segment. That's when I'm going to do prizes, because I also have 3 prizes for monthly makes, and I'm using the same prize pool. I have 6 prizes to show you guys, and then all 5 winners can choose from those 6 prizes. So I just want to do them all together. I think that'll make life easier. So if you can hang on until we get to that point in the podcast, that would be awesome. Next up is the fact that I want to let you know my Funky Fringed Cowl is now published. Yay! I had a couple with me earlier today when I recorded, and I don't have them in here now. I will try to remember to insert some pictures, but you have seen my cowls before. It's finally published on Ravelry. It will be published on my Fiber Nymph Dye Works website. If not by the time this is up, definitely by Saturday when the shop update goes live. It's taking me a little bit longer to get them formatted and put up in my own shop, because I'm new to doing patterns on my shop page, in the shop. So I'm trying to get that up there, as well as some of my other patterns that I have. I'm hoping to be able to offer all of my patterns through my own website in the coming weeks. It's just a lot of reformatting to make sure there's a lot of consistency across all the patterns. But the pattern is out there. Thank you so much to my tech editor and to my test knitters. I couldn't do patterns without you guys, so thank you so very much. And yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that in the shop news segment as well. Let me see, what else is going on? I told you last time I'm participating in the Cellar Studio Pigskin Party knit along that Jen runs every year around this time. I've been a sponsor for it many times, and I'm a sponsor this year as well, but I'm actually participating in it this time. So if you guys are also participating, I hope you're having a good time. I'm trying really hard to be active with my team group as well as with the weekly huddle threads and stuff like that. It's a real effort for me to do that because I don't, outside of the the threads we have in our group, I don't tend to do that very much. So I'm really trying to make an effort because that was why I wanted to participate to begin with. I wanted to be interacting with other humans more because I feel like I haven't done that a whole lot this year. Anyway, so that's happening. Otherwise, we're going to move into 10%. So 10%, what's going on? I went for a hike. I took a hike at my little local park that I talk about all the time, and I did do some recording while I was there, and I put that up as a bonus episode earlier this week. So if you haven't seen my Let's Go for a Hike, or take a walk in the woods, I don't remember what I called it. But anyway, it's a short episode that I put up earlier this week, so you can check that out if you would like to see the scenery around my park. It is starting to look very fallish out, so maybe I'll go back and do another one after the leaves change even more. We'll see. I am really enjoying our fall weather so far this year. Now, it's actually kind of warm today. It's actually up around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a little warmer than I would like it to be at this point in the year. But it's been, it's been getting cool, and the leaves are just beautiful, and we're early on in the leaf changing season, so hopefully it'll just get better from here. Some years aren't quite as vibrant, but this year is definitely very colorful so far. Aside from watching the very intense and horrifying Chernobyl miniseries, the other thing that I've been watching that's been much more enjoyable and lighthearted is the Arnie and Carlos videos that they're doing, the Sit and Knit for a Bit with Arnie and Carlos. I'm sure you've heard of Arnie and Carlos. They're knitwear designers, and they've designed lines of yarn for Regia. They are a hoot. Oh my gosh. I guess they were doing a quarantine podcast for a while, like a daily video earlier this year, but then they both ended up getting sick with COVID, and so they took a break from doing that. So now they're doing this weekly Wednesday video. I guess so today there should be one up. This Sit and Knit for a Bit with Arnie and Carlos. It's been such a breath of fresh air. I love their dynamic between each other because they're very different personalities, but they're just really funny. Yeah, and I guess they also do like tutorial kind of videos on Sundays, so I've been trying to watch some of those just to check them out. Again, just really lighthearted, very, very fun, so maybe that's something you might enjoy. If you guys have any podcasts or videos that you've been enjoying that are lighthearted and don't involve nuclear disasters, hey, let me know. I'm up for them. Let us move on. This is going to be the inter-podcast part of the show where I'm going to do all of the prizes. So, we have prizes for 20 and 20, which I already mentioned to you. Now I'm working off 2 different papers. And then we've got prizes for monthly makes. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you all of your prize options because we've got 5 winners and 6 prizes. So if you end up being a winner that I announce here in a little bit, here's what you need to do. You either need to message me on Ravelry and let me know you won. Tell me your name and full mailing address and give me your top 5 choice of prizes. Because there's 6, so I need to know what 5 you want, because they're first come, first serve. So as people start to reply saying they know they won, the first person is going to get their first pick, the second person will get their first pick unless it's the same as the first person, and so on. So I will give you your highest picked item that is available when I hear from you. So either message me on Ravelry, or you can email me, fibernymph@gmail.com, and I will get whatever prize is available in your list out to you. Okay, so here are the 6 prize options. The first one is a gradient, yarn gradient. This is on my bedazzled base, and it's called Brighter Side. So it's very bright, fun colors, 5 of them. So that's a sparkly one. I'm trying to go in order that I did before, I don't know why. Next up is a fiber prize. So this is my Color Play number 2 colorway on fiber, and it is a Targhee bamboo and silk blend. So very nice fiber. I love how the colors dyed up on that. So there's that as an option. Then we've got 2 skeins of my Mountain Tweed Merino DK in the burnished gold color. So if you choose this, you get both skeins. So that gives you about 462 yards. Not about, that's what it's doing. 231 yards per skein. Okay, next up, this is a skein of self-striping yarn that you are probably unlikely to see in the shop, because this is my Nyan Cat colorway that I dyed many years ago now. I dyed so much of it that I couldn't stand looking at it anymore, let alone dyeing it. It's an 8-stripe colorway. It's based off of the Nyan Cat, I don't know, is that a GIF? That just constantly floating Pop-Tart cat going through the blue sparkly sky, shooting rainbows out its butt. Do you remember that? Yeah. Well, anyway, I did these yarn sets. I had the self-striping skein that was the Nyan Cat colorway, and it was paired with a half a skein of navy blue. And I always dyed it up on the bedazzled base because it's sparkly Nyan Cat. I had someone ask me if I would do it as a special order some time ago, and I said, yes, I'll do that. So I did it for her, but I've had this skein sitting around, and I thought, well, maybe I could do it as a throwback Thursday colorway, but I can't. I just can't bring myself to do a large quantity of these, or even a small quantity, like enough for throwback Thursday. So it's been sitting here, and I finally decided I'm just going to offer it on it by itself. There's no half skein going with this. It's just the self-striping Nyan Cat. It may never be dyed again because, again, it's just, I think I was scarred by having to dye so many of them. I had a waiting list that went for almost a year, I think. It was over 100 people, and this takes forever to dye. Anyway, so that's one of your options. And then the other 2 options are mini skein sets. The first one, this is Mountain Tweed fingering. This is the old ones, the BFL ones that I'm not doing in minis anymore. So this is 2 each of deep red, sand, and rhodochrosite. So that is one option. Those are all 20 gram minis. And then this set, okay, so there's multiple things going on here. Plus it's upside down. So there's 3 self-striping skeins, and these are all 3 colorways that are from my Game Night collection. So this is Sunk, this is Likely Suspects, and this is So Very Trivial. These are all on, those 3 are also on Mountain Tweed BFL fingering, okay? Now they're mini skeins, they're slightly under 20 grams though. They're about, I would say 18-ish grams on average. I had to do these for something totally unrelated to the shop. They're never going to be in the shop as minis, but these were the ones that I had left over, so that's why I put them in here. I paired them up with 3 semi-solids that each go with them, so there's Wisp, Peacock, and Lemon, but the semi-solid ones are the new Mountain Tweed Merino minis, because all of the Mountain Tweed minis are mini skeins are now the Merino base, whereas my full skeins will still be the BFL base. They work together just fine, but they're just different bases. So that is what is in this one. So those are your 6 prize options. So again, if you're one of the winners, let me know your top 5 prize choices from the 6 prizes that I just showed you. And you will get whichever one is highest on your list that is still available when I hear from you. Okay, here we go now. We're going to start with the 20 and 20 winners. So we have the chatter thread, and in the chatter thread, posts 1429 through 1688 were the ones that came in during the 3rd quarter. Random number generator chose post number 1503, which was by I Am NYC Girl, and that is Sakandra. Sakandra, I'm so sorry. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. I'm going to say Sakandra. Did I get it right? I hope so. Anyway, I Am NYC Girl. Congratulations. You are our first winner. The other 20 and 20 winner is from Instagram. I'm announcing them here rather than on Instagram just because I figure everybody's probably watching here. If I don't hear from the Instagram winners, I will contact them through Instagram. But on the chance that you will hear it here, I thought I would mention it here. So Instagram had 19 tags for 20 and 20 this quarter. I will put the actual hashtag down here if you're participating and would like to use it. Not a lot of people are using the hashtag though on Instagram, so that makes the odds of winning for those who are using the hashtag much better. Out of the 19 tags, random number generator chose 14. So the 14th post that was tagged was by Kara_crafts, and that's crafts with a K. So Kara, congratulations, you are our next winner. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the monthly makes winners. I've got a September chatter thread winner, and then I've got the third quarter chatter thread winner and the third quarter Instagram winner for that as well. So chatter thread for September, posts 768 through 907 were our September chatter posts. Random number generator chose post number 785, who is Pepper RN, and that is Pam. So congratulations, Pam. Third quarter chatter, so we had posts 613 through 907 for the whole third quarter. And random number generator, I'm getting tired of saying random number generator, chose post number 856. And that is Will Travel for Yarn, who is Maya. So congratulations, Maya. Lastly, we have the Instagram tag, which again I will put right down here. There were only 25 for the whole quarter. So again, your odds of winning this prize is much higher since there's not as many people using the tag. Out of 25, random number generator chose number 19, and the 19th post was PA Knitwit, and that is Sarah. So congratulations to our 5 winners: Sarah, Maya, Pam, Sakandra, and Kara Crafts, who I'm going to assume is Kara. So, alrighty. Let me know what you want. Send me your mailing address, and I will get your prizes out to you. Let's move on now to shop news. There will be a shop update this coming Saturday, the 10th of October at noon. Decided to just do another one at noon on a Saturday because that seemed to work really well last time. With regard to the last update, thank you very much for everything. It was a great update. I wanted to just let you know the status of some of those new colorways that were in the shop last time. Pumpkin Pie is still in the shop. All of the in-stock skeins are gone, but there are, I think, at least 4 different dye-to-order listings that I have up right now, and I just replenished those. So that's available to you now if you're willing to wait for me to dye it to order. Same with Deep Fall. There's a small handful of Deep Fall skeins in the shop still. Oh, excuse me. However, I also ordered added dye-to-order options for that colorway as well. Leaf Pile, there's a good bit in stock. Yeah, I don't have any dye to orders up for that because there's still a lot of that in stock. Hallow Pie sold out, so that one's gone. I'm not doing any more of that. Halloween Spookles, there's still some skeins of that available. There's still some of the sock blanks, both the Halloween ones and the Deep Fall, the polka dot sock blanks. There's some of those still available. There's still some black and orange inversibles. I'm highlighting these Halloween ones because I did not do any more Halloween colorways for this update, so I just want to let you know what's there. The mini skein sets for both Deep Fall and the Halloween Brights, there are still some of those available as well. And I had all of those bundles, the discount bundles, up in the shop. I can't remember if I mentioned those on the podcast or not, but I did advertise them in other means, and a lot of them sold out. So there's not a lot of those left, but if you want to take a look and see, there's still some great deals up there for those. And lastly, I think I already mentioned it, but Punt, which is my exclusive colorway for the Pigskin Party, that will be available as a dye-to-order colorway through the entire Pigskin Party. So you're welcome to order that at any time. Okay, so now let's move on to what's going in the shop for this update. Okay, so again, this week's update, Saturday, October 10th at noon Eastern. I have 3 fall colorways, self-striping colorways going into the shop. I just decided it's a little too close to Halloween to add any more Halloween colorways, so I wanted to focus on the fall ones. The first one going in will be Mountain House Autumn. I love my Mountain House colorways. You guys usually do too. And the fall one has been one that's always been a very popular one with you guys. This one is dyed up on the Mountain Tweed Merino DK. I will have it on a bunch of different bases though, so you can be looking for that. Mountain House Autumn, how it stripes up. I think I accidentally showed you this last week when I wanted to show you Leaf Pile, which this is Leaf Pile. That's how that stripes up. Similar colors, but not the same by any stretch. This is Mountain House Autumn. Now, the only thing I will tell you is if you have ever ordered Mountain House Autumn before, this brown stripe, I have substituted a different dye for that. It's still a brown stripe. There's certain dyes that I use that I've used for a very long time. Some of them have, I don't know if they've changed the formula or what, but I'm having consistency issues with some of them, so I'm swapping those out as I can. And so the brown in this one is a slightly different brown, but it's still brown. So just be aware if you already have a skein and you're getting another skein, it's going to be a little different. But if you don't have another skein and you just want one, it doesn't matter. The color won't bother you at all. Okay, so that is that is one of the things going in the shop. Next up, this is called Winter Walk. I did have this in the shop last year, and I know you're saying, Lisa, you said fall colorways. Why are you putting a winter one in? It is called Winter Walk, but it was fall inspired, because late fall. Like, think about when that first little dusting of snow comes in late fall, like, late November. That was what inspired this, because it was sort of that snowy kind of feel, but you still have that, those bright oranges in the trees in some spots, although they usually go away shortly after those first snowfalls. There was green for the pine trees, and then you've got this light blue for that early snowy sky, and then a little bit of wisp just for that soft layer that's on everything. This is on Traveler. I'll have it on several bases as well. And then the last self-striping one is a new colorway. I was not planning on doing a new fall colorway this week, but I ended up doing one anyway. It's a 2-stripe colorway. I don't have the sample knit up yet, but maybe by the time I'm editing this podcast, I'll have it ready that I can pop in a picture. Definitely be in the shop listing. But it's a 2-stripe colorway. The one is going to be this grayish, bluish color, this silverish blue. It's actually a light version of my gunmetal blue colorway that's then overwashed with graphite. So it's definitely a gray-blue tonal thing going on. The other stripe is where you'll see all these other colors. It's a variegated stripe, and I put in all of my favorite really muted autumn colors. I'm very into muted autumn colors this year. So there's the reddish, there's an orange in here. Where's the orange? Down in here. There's a green and the gold, and they all just come together in a really cool muted fashion as a variegated. I'm calling this October Twilight because that is what was inspiring it. Like when I'm driving in the evenings, sort of a little later than this time of day, this is what I see, like that sky that's, that dark. It's not dark, but it's getting dark, and it just washes everything over with that really muted, darker tone. So you can still see the bright colors, but they're toned down, and it's so pretty. I wish I could find a good place to stop and take a picture along the road, because there's some really good shots, but that wouldn't be very safe. Anyway, so those will be in the shop. Those are the only 3 new self-striping colorways that I'm putting in this week. In addition to that, though, I am putting up some of my twist base. Twist, you'll remember, is this yarn that I have. It's a non-superwash Highland wool, and when I get it, it's a combination of white undyed, well, it's all undyed, but it's like a white natural, and then this dark natural color, and then the way it's twisted together, you also get like a gray area. It's so pretty. And then when it gets dyed up, you get just different intensities of whatever you put on it. This has been really pretty popular when I put it in the shop before, and I have done it on self-striping before. I didn't do self-striping this time. This, they're all, I'm going to say they're mostly all tonals except for one, which is a variegated. So this one is a blue, and I'm not giving these specific colorway names. I'm just calling them, like, this is blue twist is what this is going to be. So we've got blue twist, actually blue-gray twist. This is an oceany blue, so ocean twist, which is looking a little more green than it actually is. It's more of a blue. The lighting in here is getting a little dark. This is honey twist. This is violet twist. Ooh, I like that. Turned out so nice there. And lastly, this one's the variegated one. This is actually, these are the colors that are in the October Twilight colorway in the variegated stripe. I put those on these skeins. And look at the, oh, I just love how they turned out. So this will be October Twilight. Actually, I may not call it that because that will be confusing because it's not self-striping. Maybe I'll just call it Autumn Twist. So you can look for that as Autumn Twist. These are the only 5 I have done. I may try to dye up a couple more, and if I can, you'll see those in the shop as well. The last thing, though, that I'll be putting up in the shop new this week, in addition to the patterns, because like I said, I'm hoping to have at least a handful of my patterns up, especially my new one, which will be up there, the Funky Fringed Cowl. Did I mention that? I had to change the name slightly. I was calling it the Funky Fringy Cowl. It's now the Funky Fringed Cowl. That was because of how Ravelry, what words it'll accept in your titles. And when I had fringy with the hyphen and the Y, it was considering the word fringe by itself as an attribute. And you're not allowed to put attributes in your pattern names, apparently. Whatever. I changed it to fringed, and it's fine. Now, you'll remember that I designed that pattern to be knit with leftovers or, you know, odd skeins that you have at home. But if you don't have a lot of DK leftovers and you would like some smaller amounts to do that kind of skein, I put together some sets. Now, if you think back a couple of months ago, I did that crocheted half granny square shawl, and I did that with a lot of different colors of my DK weight yarns. I originally dyed these yarns that I'm going to show you. I dyed those up that I was going to put in giant kits to make that kind of a shawl. And then I decided that that might not be great because they would have had a pretty high price point, and I didn't know that that would be awesome for that kind of thing. So I held on to them, and I decided I was going to put them in the shop in smaller quantities. That way you could just pick and choose which ones you wanted or however many you wanted. And then when I knew I was going to be publishing this pattern, I thought, well, they would be great for that too. So that's why I held on to them until now. So let me grab them. Sorry, I have to bend. I have 4 different... Okay, there's 3. Where's the other one? Okay, I have 4 different sets, colorway combinations. The first one is called Confections, and it is some lighter, brighter colors. And then I have Mountain Getaway, which is some more darker, fallish, going into winter kind of colors. And we have Backyard Picnic. I don't know why, these just sort of reminded me of Backyard Picnic kind of colors. And lastly, Velveteen, which is sort of, it's almost a gradient. I didn't mean for it to be, but it's sort of this family of browns through purples into pinks and stuff. So anyway, Velveteen. There are like 5 or 6 of each set in the shop, or there will be on Saturday. Now let me just let you know that they're all a combination of Bona Fide and Beguiled. Beguiled is the sparkly DK weight that I carry. Each set is mostly Bona Fide. Each set, though, will have either 1 or 2 Beguiled skeins in it. So you will have at least 1 sparkly. Like this one has this one magenta is sparkly. That's just how I dyed them up because I think it's fun to add in some sparkle into a project. It doesn't have to be all of the yarn. I like doing it that way. So that's how those are. Okay, that is everything that will be in the shop, and I wanted to do fiber for this update, but I ran out of time. So even though this is my last regular update for October, because the rest of this month is going to be totally dedicated to finishing up the holiday mini, or the holiday pops mini collections, so I can ship those out by November 1st. I may try to squeeze in some fiber dyeing, because I haven't done a fiber update in a while. And there's not a lot of fiber left in the shop, so I will hopefully try to get some of that up before November. But if not, it'll come in November. Otherwise, this is it for right now. Hope you saw something you like, and it will all be up on Saturday at noon. That's everything I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the YouTube comments or in the episode thread on Ravelry, or you can always email me. I am posting these episodes also to the blog that's on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works website, so you can find all those links down below in the drop down for this episode. Take care, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!